Squid Game Season 2, this is my review and I will be mentioning spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, go away, watch it. And if you don't mind spoilers, stick around and I'm going to have my sort of hot take on it. It's going to be a bit of a ramble, not much structure, but I'm going to tell you first and foremost if I liked it. You know, what are the plots that are good? Where does it sort of let itself down? And first and foremost, is it even as good as the original? But before we do that, please, if you enjoy my content, drop a like, consider subscribing. I talk about all things that I like in terms of films, mostly Alien and Predator stuff, I have to say. But I mention a lot of different things. So stick around if you enjoy that. And let's get straight to it. So Squid Games Season 2, is it sort of as good as the original, and is it worth any sort of hype at all? Is it a money grab? The answer to that is no, not really. It is good and it isn't a money grab. Is it as good as season 1? No, but it's never going to be, because we had the perfect storm for the original. Because of the time it came out, everybody was indoors, no one could do anything, and obviously there are things that I can't mention because YouTube doesn't like it, but they had the perfect recipe for success. This one is different. It's never going to live up to that hype, and it's never going to be quite as good because that was completely unique for a lot of people. No one had ever seen anything that was Korean before. Nobody had ever watched anything with that sort of, I guess, character and type of filming, I suppose. Whereas now they're sort of more used to the colours, the sort of quirky acting and things like that. So it's never going to shock everybody as much as it did in the original. However, this is good. Very, very solid. I would highly recommend anybody watch this, but there are a caveat to that. The caveat is, if you want a payoff and you have no patience, this season may lose you in the first 2 episodes, and at the end you're going to be left very disappointed. So let's get to it. Characters. We're obviously introduced to Seong Gi again. He's the main character. He's changed an awful lot, but it's really believable and really good. So he was going to board a plane to go and sort of have his money and spend it with his daughter. He decides not to board the plane because he wants to stop the games, because he feels it's an injustice and how can they do this to people. So that's great. It's the typical revenge story. It's a revenge action story, this. It's very different to the original. The games play sort of a side quest to the original, which is fine. I quite like that, actually, because we've seen the games. But let's go on to it. So the first thing they do is we find out what Seong Gi's been doing. He's saved up he's basically kept all the money. He calls it blood money. And he's hired sort of a low-level gang to help him find the recruiter who recruited him in the original one. So they've been looking for 3 years, scouting the underground to try and find the recruiter. And he's also built shooting range. He's built a shooting range in his house behind a closed door. He's accumulated loads of weapons, basically to go to war with these people in the Squid Games. He's really on some sort of revenge mission, but he's turned into a really good character. Lots of PTSD, lots of trauma, lots of hate, but also he's become a real leader and you really believe what he's become. A little bit like Ripley in Aliens, the second one, for anyone who doesn't know. It's really, really good. It's great character development and really well acted. I have to say, overall, once again, the acting in this series is top draw. The style is quirky, so if you can't get over that quirkiness and it feels a little bit cheesy, then yeah, I don't know what to say. It's their style, right? And it works. I like it. The cinematography, the music's excellent again, and it's just well shot. It's well done. The characters are really good. By the second episode, we've met a few characters. We don't know who they are, but we've met some characters, and they all end up in the games, of course. We have one character that we'd seen is a female. She's actually a guard, so we now get this sort of perspective of what it's like to be a guard and eliminating people. Again, I don't know what the payoff is to this character, because she is someone who came over from North Korea, lost her daughter. She's trying to find her daughter. She's trying to pay a detective to do that. And then she's in the Squid Games as a guard. So I'm guessing that she's there just for the money. But she goes against the grain. So in the games, they're killing people, obviously, when they're eliminated. But the guards want to keep some people alive for organ harvesting. We kind of saw a little bit of that in the original, but she's just killing them outright. Even if they've been shot in the leg and they're putting them in a casket to take them for organ donating, she kills them. So there's that going on, which is a bit weird because, again, we don't really get any payoff on this. So this season is just setting everything up for season 3, and that's very frustrating, even for me who really enjoyed it. So I can imagine this is going to be a real letdown for a lot of people. However, bear with it. I think it's great. And we also get the masked man, who is the brother of the police officer. He's in as player number 1 again. And we know this. It's not even a spoiler. We know this from the get-go. The audience knows. So it's a really good dynamic. So we have the main character, 456. He's in again. And then we also have the masked man in there. So we have 2 people who know the games like the back of their hands. So it creates a dynamic in there where the games are less scary because they've been there and done it, and we know that they're going to guide it slightly differently. So he's going to tell them what they should do in order to have maximum survival. So there's less panic in there. So, and also from an audience, it was great not watching the same games over and over again, because that never works, just watching the same thing. I'm glad we got some sort of clawbacks, but we got new games which didn't have the same impact. Like I say, they're almost like a parallel story. They're like a side quest in this one. The real thing that's going on is Seong Gi is there to overthrow the Squid Games and the men at the top, the VIPs and all of that. And we've also got these side plots going on. Seong Ji's best friend is in there. They obviously haven't spoken for a while, but he's in there. He's also in debt. They sort of bond in there, and that's great. You get to see some camaraderie, and at times he basically just says, stick behind me, do exactly what I say, and he does that. Great. So he guides him through the games. We also have other characters, like we have this rapper called Thanos, which is, a lot of people found him cheesy, but I found him great. It really works with the type of style that they go for in Squid Game, so I enjoyed that. We also have a son and mother, and this son is very cowardly and basically is prepared to let his mum die for some money, which is really sad to see, because there's some scenes where she has been left alone to die and other people have been like, where's your son? And she's like, don't badmouth my son, he would never leave me behind. And he clearly has, and he's just a coward, he'll do anything for that money. And then you have all the other different characters who are there just for money. You have the rapper is basically the main protagonist or the main villain. He just wants his money, and there's some crypto guy in there who's basically obviously had lots of people lose money because they followed his channel and put in some this is some advice, right? People who are online telling you about cryptocurrencies on YouTube, trust me, they're not multimillionaires. They're there to make you invest so they can get money. So stop putting money into crypto from people telling you online. That for every one person that has good advice, there's 10 telling you all the wrong stuff and you'll lose your money. So don't do it. This show tells you that. Basically, they wouldn't be on there if they were making loads of money. Trust me. So yeah, that was really good. So not much actually happened. So we just go through the games. There's lots of bickering back and forth. We have the police officer who is the brother of the masked man. He's on a side mission trying to find the island again. He's obviously a police officer, and he's going with this private captain to keep finding this island. We find out that this captain, who is an interesting character, is a mole and he basically works for the Squid Game company and is trying to stop this guy from finding the island. And he continues to basically stop it in a very nuanced way, and there's information that he gets told that he keeps leaking to other people. So we know he's a mole and he's a villain. We know this. I don't want to go through all these characters' names because A, I'll butcher the names, and B, it's really hard to remember the names. I have just watched it once and it's very, very short in my opinion, so it's very difficult to learn the names, and I can't be bothered with sort of looking up people's names all the time and having loads of cuts, so I apologise for that. The reason why there's not a payoff is there just isn't much happening in this. So the best scene for me in the whole series is the Russian roulette scene with the recruiter. When Seong Gi finds the recruiter, they play a game of Russian roulette, and obviously Seong wins and he gets back into the games. That is a really intense and incredible scene. Really enjoyed it. Great first episode, by the way. And then you have the other side of it where we get to the end and it's just a shoot off between the guards. One character I didn't mention that I absolutely loved, by the way, is the transgender character. Really good character. She plays someone who lost their job. They were a sergeant in the special forces, but they lost their job because they transitioned, and she's just not the most confident person. But at the end, there's they're basically trying to infiltrate the sort of HQ of the Squid Games, the guards tower, or whatever you want to call it, and essentially she plays a big role in that. From what we see, she's excellent, obviously leads the troops as you would, and helps these people sort of feel comfortable in a sort of, I guess, a shootout. And that's really, really good to see a character used like that, and very different to how we'd use it in the West. It's not a sort of D&I tick box. It actually is a character that does have quite a lot of impact, and it's really well done. I really enjoyed that. Another thing missing in this one was the VIPs. We never get to see the VIPs. So this is a mission all about stopping this at the top, cutting the head off of the snake type thing, but we never actually get to see them. So it's like the masked man, who's actually in the games, is representing the head of the snake, and he doesn't quite make sense, because he does a lot of things to counteract what he ends up doing later on in the program. Again, I'm getting into spoilers, but I don't want to spoil everything. He's involved in the games, he's killing people, he's shooting guards, killing quite a few guards, and then halfway through, or just towards the end, he decides to put his mask back on and work back with the guards, and he actually ends up showing Seong Gi that he's tried to have too much impact and meddled with the games too much, that everyone ends up getting caught, all these sort of resistance people from the Squid Games, and he ends up killing Seong Gi's best friend in front of him right at the end of the episode, and that is the end of like season 7. So there really isn't much to tell you apart from Seong Gi ends up in the games, tries to take over. There's like a mini sort of I don't even know what to call it, but there's a mini standoff between the guards and some of the inmates of the game. I call them inmates, some of the players, and they essentially lose to the guards, and then the guards kill pretty much everybody apart from the transgender person and player 456, Jung Gi. So they're the only two survivors from it, and I think there was around 10 people who decided to go out there and fight against the guards with weapons. So yeah, really interesting. I've really enjoyed it. I'm buzzing for the next season, really want to watch it, but it did feel like it left us a little bit unfulfilled. The only thing to ever have done this to me was when I was a kid and I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time, Fellowship of the Ring, had no idea it was I didn't know it was a book, didn't know anything about it, had no idea there were going to be 3 films, and I watched it on DVD and I just could not believe it finished there. I felt, yes, we got a conclusion kind of that story up, but I was like, what the hell, like this is not even close to being done. And this is kind of how I feel with this, but I knew from episode 3 there's no way they're going to be able to finish this season unless they rushed it like Dan and Dave did on Game of Thrones. So yeah, that's it really. I mean, look, as I said, excellent music, excellent sort of production, really well done. The casting's great. I really enjoy that quirky style. It's very different to what we're used to, obviously, with Western shows. The acting's superb. Like, the storyline works. It is a bit slow. The side quest of the police officer trying to find the island doesn't really go anywhere, but the recruiter scene with the Russian roulette is epic, excellent. I have to say, one of the best sort of scenes I've seen in shows for me personally. I absolutely loved it. That episode itself, having seen Russian roulette twice, was really, really good. And then the games themselves were quite fun. This isn't as dark as the original. In my opinion, the original was much darker than this. This is a bit more light. There's deaths, but it doesn't quite mean the same. There's one fight between the two teams where there's a lot of deaths, and there's like a Saving Private Ryan scene where this character who is a coward watches a girl get stabbed up by one of the main villains with a fork, and it's quite hard to watch actually, because like as a guy watching a girl get like stabbed by this man in sort of what is like prison conditions, no one to help her, that was pretty tough to watch actually. So I'll give him that was a good scene as well, but yeah, I didn't enjoy that that much. And yeah, just overall really good. There's lots of plots that we don't know. So we've got the boat mission to try and find the island, we've got the sort of the storyline for one of the guards, guard number 11. What's she doing there? Why is she there? What's going to be her sort of impact within this? We've got the organ doning stuff. Again, I don't know where that's going to go. We've got the player number 1, who is the masked man, who is the brother. Why was he in the games? What was the point? And why has he come out now? Where are the VIPs? And then, of course, Seong Gi, what's going to happen to him now? So that's kind of where we're left off. Look, 7 episodes, not a huge amount happened, but it was fantastic in my opinion. Really, really enjoyed it. Could it be better? Yes, but it was way better than I expected because it's totally different. And I really enjoyed the first couple of episodes being out of the games and then going back into the games. It was, really, really good. Highly recommend it. And let me know what you think. And as always, drop a comment, like, subscribe if you're enjoying it. And peace out. Catch you in the next one.